With Credit Karma, finding the right credit card for you is easy. Our app analyzes user profiles to suggest personalized recommendations. Visit creditkarma.com today to explore cards tailored to your needs. Credit Karma, simplifying your financial choices.
Hello, welcome. Let's chat. It's hard. You want to talk? I know, that's disappointing. Sit back. Let's work this out. How's it going? What are we doing here? Where are you going? Hey there. Wow. It's not always easy. It's amazing if you think about it. Let's think about this. Strange. I have some thoughts about that. Life is hard. Trauma bonded.
What are your feelings about this episode overall? Just curious. Because I think Julianne it's a story as old as time.
Oh, yeah.
If not yourself, you know someone that
Oh, yeah.
has love addiction and they keep being with the wrong
Oh, yeah.
person. And I have felt this way as well. But it's really hard to be like an objective listener and not be mad at her throughout the episode.
Mm-hmm.
Because you're just like, why?
Oh, yeah.
But I mean, we could do that with any of our own lives.
I think it's probably easy for us to judge her. I mean, but you're in pain after a breakup and then your friend's like, oh, you totally bond with this guy. He's great. And you do meet him and you guys have, a great conversation and you are addicted to love. I mean, who isn't addicted to love? Maybe a lot of people, but I'm addicted to love and connection. You are too. You've fallen head over heels for a couple of doozies, let me tell you, Elly. Okay? And you did not waste 20 minutes, let me tell you. Years. I mean, it was years. And it wasn't just your years, it was like my years. And I was just, so much wasted of my time. So anyway, what I'm saying is, so her story wasn't half as annoying to me as your story is. But enough of that.
Welcome to Trauma Bonded. I'm Elly Westberg here with Therese Garcia.
Hello.
And today we're discussing episode 343 of the podcast. This is actually happening. What if you were caught in a spiral of violence? A brief. Julianne develops anxiety young due to her parents' divorce and the messiness of family that ensues. As a young adult, she embarks on a series of unhealthy, toxic romantic relationships, all fraught with violence. Her final relationship starts out promising, but after some red flags, a night of terror involving a drive-by shooting at her home and then subsequent drug use turns this relationship into another toxic one. She witnesses his final fatal act when he takes his own life right in front of her. Full disclosure, I am the showrunner for This Is Actually Happening, and T knows nothing about anything. She comes in fresh. And this show, Trauma/Bonded, is for the listeners, a space where we can talk about each episode, digest it, and reflect on it with empathy and also a bit of levity. That's Trauma Bonded. T, what stuck out to you is the heart of Julianne's story.
Thank you, Elly. I went with one word for the heart of the story today.
Weird.
And that one word is hollow. You might remember the word hollow was used to describe the bullet. Do you remember that? I had to do a little bit of research here.
It explodes internally.
It does.
Bullets, yeah.
It's called a hollow point bullet. And that was the bullet that killed Michael. That's a very technical detail. So I did a little research. So that bullet...
Research alert.
Oh, thank you, Elly. So that bullet is designed to expand upon impact, causing maximum damage. So yes, I use the word hollow because of that. And also because I was thinking that it also mirrors the emotional devastation she experiences, at that moment. And then the emotional wound that it leaves her as well. Also, throughout the story, she kind of has a hollow emotional state as a child. her feelings of not belonging with her, you know, parents' custody battle, and also not feeling like she belongs with her mom's new family. As she gets older, that feeling of anxiety. Also with her toxic relationships, thinking her feelings of isolation within that, the violence within those relationships. I was also thinking hollow, it sounds kind of haunting, but I'm also wondering if maybe there's a hopeful side to it as kind of a place or a space to rebuild, an opportunity to,
Like if you hollow out a hole, it's in the process of building.
yeah,
Yeah.
right, to maybe reshape a future in the way that she goes to therapy and she identifies some of these patterns and to symbolize her resilience to emerge from this emptiness.
Mm,
Hmm. So that's why I used hollow as the heart of her story.
that was very thorough.
Thank you. To your heart.
I think it probably goes in with yours. When you're with someone, especially, I mean, obviously in a romantic sense, in romantic relationships, when you're with someone that doesn't share your values, that's when anxiety and confusion come in. Because you're constantly trying to rectify in your brain how to keep this person in your life. But there are there are deeply disparate feelings, attitudes, ways of coping, ways of moving in the world that will never, ever work together.
Hmm.
And I think we see this in all types of ways. And I think the proof is in the pudding in that both relationships that were really violent that she mentions in her episode, when they leave or when they're out of her life, her anxiety is relieved because she doesn't have to try to make those values align anymore. We're playing this constant, like, confusion game with ourselves instead of just going, "Why don't I walk away?" But it's like, "Why can't I make them love me?"
Yeah.
It will never happen. And along those lines, she kept trying to fit herself into their molds. You could argue that good for her, she fought back for herself physically. But you could also look at it as that's so sad that
Yeah.
she had to go to their level to defend herself, and she did it physically violently. And it shows that it did start to, like, impact the real heart of who she was, because she talks about that moment, I forget which one, made her mad, and she punched a wall.
Mhm.
And I have a feeling that she wasn't like that before the first one.
Mm.
It reminds me of my dad and the way he would try to make sense of his political beliefs and his religious beliefs. Somehow half this country has been able to do that. I don't think they ever they go together. And I know I'm speaking in coded language, but if you know, you know. For instance, Jesus's love for the beggar and like stark capitalism where we throw people without homes into prison. These values don't line up.
Does not compute.
It doesn't work together. And people that try to make them work, they're living in a state of anxiety and confusion. It is not a peaceful state. And that's the half the country that we're dealing with here. As much as my losing my dad hurts and everything, one of the first things I thought of for him is that finally he has peace because he doesn't have to make these big value systems that conflict work together anymore, and now he doesn't have to worry about it. I feel like so much time I think we've all been in relationships like this where it's always a drama, it's always a stress, there's always a problem, and instead of us just objectively going, "Wait, maybe I just shouldn't be with this person," we try to do all kinds of ways to make it work, and it's never gonna work. If you have a friend that keeps coming to you and going, I'm in love and I love him. Oh, he pulled out a knife on me, but I'm gonna stick with it." Like, you have that friend that keeps coming to you and you keep going, "Girl, what you doing?" Or, "Man, why are you with her?" And they keep going, "It'll be fine. We're just gonna keep working at it." And then they come back like 20 minutes later and they're like, "Okay, we broke up and it was really dramatic, but I've got another one." Like, maybe I'm that friend to you, T.
No, no, you're not.
But we all have had those friends where as much as we love them and we wanna we want to be there for them in all their times of need. At some point, you start to go, when are you going to see this pattern for yourself? And advocate for yourself, right? If we have some emptiness inside of us, what do we do to fill it? What should we do to fill it? We should seek self-love and self-empowerment and agency. Like, these are the ways to fill those holes. But usually we turn to other people, addiction, like substances, danger, whatever it is. We're always trying to fill that hole. You will always be hollow in a bad way if you don't figure out how to fill yourself up outside of someone else or something external. Again, I love Julianne. We had an incredible conversation in the pre-interview. We cried together. She's one of my people. Like, I see her completely. It's just, I think when it's in this kind of format, when, yeah, everything's condensed to 50 minutes and you're hearing all of the worst missteps you've ever made in your relationship, it can probably sound a little bit like it becomes sort of an exercise for the listener to have real compassion, because it's just like, girl, what you doing?
Yeah.
We talk about these empathy exercises, and they come in all different shapes and sizes, including this one.
Mm-hmm.
And I'd be curious to know what Julianne thought after hearing the episode distilled down into this 50 minutes. I wonder what she thinks, hearing what she says about herself and her own life and her patterns. She clearly gets it. She's made progress and changes, but to just hear it back in that format, I wonder what she feels like. Maybe we'll get her on the show.
Oh, yeah.
Well, we have a 3-week Christmas break coming up, and I'm gonna try to get a few on the calendar. So
Fun.
if you're out there, look for that. Okay, let's go through the episode. I want to try to start to get away a little bit from the line by line
Okay.
that I've been doing. I feel like
Yeah.
it's just repetitive. And I kind of tried to stick to just things that came up that I think are
Okay.
discussion topics. What do you think about the stepdad?
There wasn't much about him, just that he's a man stranger.
I mean, yeah. And when you're a kid, that's a big deal.
And that he's, 9 years younger than the mom. Go mom. Am I right?
Yeah.
Also that he probably didn't make much of an effort to bond with her daughter.
Yes,
Like a feeling.
This isn't like mom's 50 and he's 41. She's 26 or
Yeah.
27 and he's 19.
Yeah.
That's no bueno.
Yeah.
So that starts sort of this anxiety for Julianne, but then it sounds like she gets parentified. She has to like console the mom constantly.
Yeah.
So her mom's this drain.
Ends up being the source of her anxiety.
And I get it. So again, instead of her mom turning Edward, she just keeps parentifying her 11-year-old daughter, making her feel bad for not choosing to live with her.
So then she has to console her mom.
Yeah.
But she ends up being the reason her mom is upset.
Well, and her mom is modeling relationships for her as well. Like, this is what you do. You choose a partner over everything else. This is the most important. This is where all of your love and connection comes from. I mean, I'd like to think, 10 years, you got a kid who's 10 years old, they can plainly say, like, I don't like it that you've got a teenage boyfriend in the house. I feel like we talk about this a lot.
At least mom's not having orgies.
Well, I mean, it's like damaging in different ways, right?
Yeah.
And I think it's fascinating that Julianne always, this anxiety, being a hypochondriac, she's always in this sense of dread.
Mm-hmm.
Like life is going to end early, feeling like her life would be short. Do you feel like, this is kind of woo-woo, knowing what we know now, do you think that she was having a premonition about her future missteps?
What do you mean? Like premonition that she'd start getting like injured and stuff in her relationships?
Well, this is the line I wrote.
Oh.
Does her body know that violent men are in her future?
Or is she trying to set herself up, like justifying or like choosing men that will be violent so that she will be injured or sick in her relationships?
Oh, like it's conditioning.
Yeah.
Like her body's conditioning itself to be used to anxiety, to be used to confusion, to be used to violence. Or maybe it's something more like because of having to go through this, her body has gotten shifted into a direction it wasn't meant to go. And that is how it's showing up in herself, this anxiety. I don't know.
I don't know. It's probably neither of those things.
I have to say, moving to New York City at 19, that's a big leap for someone that has
Yeah.
a lot of anxiety.
Even without a lot of anxiety.
That's a big one.
Tough.
And here her life is really starting. It sounds like she was really flourishing, living in Brooklyn, even though she had to work in Times Square. And she meets a guy. And this is the first red flag. Her roommates are fighting. And what does he do to make the fight stop?
Make it worse, I think. Let's bring out a knife. This'll make it better.
Well, it definitely stopped the fight.
I guess it did stop the fight, but now I feel like this guy is mentally disturbed.
I get it. She's really young. I would love to believe that if the person I was dating like took out a knife and held it like threateningly in front of me or people I loved or even lived with, that would be it. I'd walk away.
He's just assertive. He's tough. He's putting his foot down, right?
I mean, he's also showed other anger issues,
Yeah.
being possessive.
I mean, some people like that, right?
If you're in a situation and a man says that he loves you and takes out a knife and wields it around you or people you love, you should probably go.
I would do that.
Yeah.
And this is an example of like your friends who are in this fight, where they're like, "Hey, you probably should leave him, right?" This is now like, right? This is your friend being like, "Okay,
Yeah.
let's have."
He did what? Yeah, you need to leave.
But I'm not sure that this guy is allowed in the apartment anymore. There's 10 of us that live here.
Yeah.
He's scary.
Yeah, he should have been
I
saying
sleep here.
Does he move into that brownstone, you think?
He just sleeps over a lot,
I'm
probably.
surprised the roommates let this happen.
Yeah.
Anyway, he turns out to be a real piece of shit. There's one night in particular where the plans changed and this friend is visiting and she leaves and without any provocation, she turns around and he fucking punches her right in the fucking face. Maybe now you leave?
Yes.
Yeah, let's talk about this. And this is going to be kind of a theme of the show today is violence against women. The UN just released a study like violence against women is
Research alert.
yeah,
Wow.
it's getting worse. It's not getting better, y'all. You think that after everything we've learned in years of progress that feelings around women and violence against women would be diminished. It is increasing worldwide. There are patterns in these sort of abusive situations. And if someone punches you, what Julianne does, she says she lays there, she feels violated and confused. She threatens to leave, but he threatens suicide. So she decides to stay. What should you do if you're in a similar situation? Definitely don't try to leave when those emotions are heightened. The rule of thumb is that you plan ahead, you wait until he's out of the house or away from you when it's safe. You call his family to let him know, especially if he's threatened suicide, to let them know that he's done that. And then you block on everything. That is like sort of what you should do. If you try to escalate it in the moment when there's heightened emotions or there's already been violence displayed, they're more likely to exacerbate that violence.
Yeah.
So plan ahead, leave when safe, call his family, block everything. And that's all you have to do. His life is not your responsibility. His happiness is not your responsibility. Think about self-preservation and getting out alive. Don't go back. Because that's the other part of it. It takes like the statistics say it takes 7 times for a partner who's been abused to leave their abuser.
Oh my God.
Because it's so deeply emotionally intertwined. And she calls it, she's there to keep the peace. Guess what? There ain't no peace to keep.
Just gets worse.
But she can't leave because she's got low self-worth and she has no tools. She's telling herself these lies that he's the best she could do and in some way she must deserve it. And that's exactly how you diminish women and get them attached to your bullshit. And she feels this confusion. If your body is feeling confusion, it's probably trying to tell you that there's no way you're going to ever solve it and you just need to get out. Listen to yourselves. Listen to yourself. She knows she doesn't want to be in it, but she's afraid to not be around him to keep an eye on him. Plan ahead, tell his family, leave it when it's safe, and then block him on everything.
Sounds so easy.
It ain't easy.
No.
And if you got kids with him, if you have a mortgage with him, if you are completely financially dependent on him, then everything is that much more difficult. But if you're a teenage girl
Yeah.
living your best life in a big city and you've got a safety net around you, it sounds like Julianne has made wonderful friends. It sounds like she still has a family support. If you can do it, you take advantage of those situations, those safety nets, and let them help you leave. And she feels bad for him. I get it. They were together 2.5 years. Finally, there's a situation with a fist fight where she's defending herself, and he's the one that leaves.
I know.
Would she have left if he hadn't left? Well, at least she got out of it. Don't mischaracterize my anger for lack of compassion for Julianne. Like, I have it. I'm mad that there are these pieces of shit walking the earth and that there are us women feeling bad for them. As I have done. So she's got a friend in Utah. No.
Just the Utah part?
No, yeah.
Okay, just the Utah part. The Utah part, that's it.
It's funny because because she's still living in Utah and it's beautiful. I get it. People go there for mountains and shit. But I was so curious because when I first talked to her, I was like, so how did you end up in Utah? Because she's from Michigan. She moved to New York City. And now she's living in Utah. Who moves to Utah if not for Mormonism? Actually, Salt Lake City is one of the most beautiful cities I've ever seen. So this guy in Utah, he's 9 years older. He's got 3 teenage kids that become her stepkids, which is this is a lot for what? She's 24, 25. From 6 months of knowing each other,
Yeah.
he proposes. And it's all she wanted. Although, she count up the red flags. He's angry. He's got anger issues, got a checkered past. He convinces her he's selling drugs just to pay for the wedding.
Let's just do City Hall, I think. Let's stop selling drugs. We got the kids. Let's just, right?
No, let's still get married.
Well, yeah,
Okay.
but City Hall's free, right?
And she admits she has an addiction to love and connection. I don't know what she's addicted to, but it ain't love. This isn't love. I think she's addicted to the idea of love.
Yeah.
But what these men are giving her is not love. And that's unfair to say too, because people aren't entirely one thing. Someone might have anger issues, but might show up for you.
Is she unlucky or something? I mean, this is 3 in a row.
So they get married, and he fucks someone else, and it's over. And again, it's him leaving her. And I don't mean that like she deserves to be left. I mean that I want her to choose to leave.
Yeah.
But guess what? Right away, again, she feels this incredible relief from her anxiety because she's not trying to make her freaking world work anymore. She gets to live the values that she has for herself and her life. She really leans into this idea. She wants to be her own person and have her own interests and have her own agency. She decides to go back to school because she's never going to not be independent ever. She gets into interior decorating and yoga and eating healthy and agency. Like, she is really doing it now.
She does really well when she's single.
I'm so curious to know how long this time frame was between this new Julianne and meeting Michael.
I know.
Like, did she really give herself this chance to be fully independent of some other person? And sometimes we trick ourselves like that. Like, yes, or we walk around going, I ate a salad today. I'm like feeling really good. And they're like, no, it's going to take a lot more salads, Elly. And she probably was on the straight and narrow and really feeling herself because she was feeling good about what she'd done. So she probably felt like she was in a place to accept Michael into her life in a romantic way. Well, it sounded like a slow progression of sorts. Someone you work with, you know, talky at worky, and maybe you go out for a drink afterwards. Before you know it, you're in a full-fledged fucking relationship. He's a reader, and he seems like this, like, nuanced guy, this modern man. He reads.
Yeah, he rejected,
He's a rebel.
yeah, he rejected the Church of Latter-day Saints.
He's logical.
That's great.
He's a black sheep. They keep sending him to rebel camp, but he's fine, but he doesn't have any money for education. It's fine. Like,
Yeah. I was feeling good about this.
he does have a history of self-harm and
Drug abuse.
suicidal tendencies. But he's the first one that says, let's sit down and write goals out together about what we want for ourselves and in this relationship. Whoa,
That is interesting.
that progress.
Yeah.
And she's 28, so her brain's done cooking, and she feels that she's finally with the right partner, and they're going to grow together.
Yeah.
I mean, it feels good, and it could have been good, if not
I was feeling good about it.
for what's the 2-syllable word that
Okay.
all of us, the 5-letter word, all of us have come to know in our bones when it's said, and we recoil because we
Yeah.
all lived through this community of hell.
Everything was great. And then COVID.
Fucking COVID.
Everything was on the up and up.
I fucking hate COVID so much. Although, it's hard to say. If we hadn't had it, would I have the life I have now? I don't know.
What would have happened?
I don't know.
I don't know.
I feel like it stole years from me, though. Oh, so he's got lots of free time on his hands, and he gets in his head a little bit. Oh, and he's dealing with Lyme disease.
Yeah, the Lyme disease threw me for a loop too. I was like, oh no.
Yeah.
I just feel like that was kind of the cherry on top where I was like, oh no.
And Lyme disease.
Which is a terrible, terrible thing.
Yeah.
So.
No, it's not and then Lyme disease. It's and then cocaine.
Yeah, that too. I was like, oh gosh.
You know these people.
On top.
Hey, my friend got us some cocaine. Let's do. Okay, well, let's like have a night where we'll go to a hotel, some champagne, and we'll just have like a little, like, it's not like we're doing drugs. It's just like a fun night out.
We'll go responsibly.
And then that guy does all the cocaine.
You're like, what the hell? We talked about this.
And I'm not judging. I'm saying we all know this guy.
Like, just don't tell me you got it then. If you're going to do it all on your own, just do it. Why are we planning this night? Just do it then. I'm so annoyed.
I know. He's just so that guy.
You hate that guy. Don't say it then.
Well, and then later when he is like talking about he was trying to get more, it was like he flipped it and reversed it and tried to make it her problem. Oh, it's because you were upset. I was trying to get more.
That's why you almost died.
It was like, hesitated cocaine.
I didn't mean it. You said you had it.
You were so upset that I did all the cocaine and I had to get more for you and your needy hair.
I didn't even want it. You said you had it and you were going to share it. Then you didn't. And then I almost died.
Druggy. Before we get there, also awful, and we all have a shared PTSD is COVID protocols in restaurants. Luckily, we were out of our restaurant working phases by the time that came around, but we had to endure them as consumers, which is also terrible. Like, I can't even imagine
everyone.
But having to work through it.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
I can't even. Like, our true American heroes are restaurant.
Tip your servers.
And grocery store worker, essential workers that had to put on all that shit every day, all day, and then deal with our whiny asses about.
I wanted a lemon.
There's no more lemons. What a fucking horrible time. Just fucking horrible.
I am finally going out after 3 years of never going out.
Yeah.
I want this to be the perfect night.
Yeah. And everything's just more expensive and less quality, and it sucks. And like, go back home. We had a really lovely meal from Costco last night. We got the all in the like pre-made food section.
Mm-hmm.
Have you had their salmon with the pesto butter?
I sure have. It's amazing.
It's amazing.
It's amazing.
And then we had like this chickpea, like quinoa kale salad
Uh-huh.
with
It's amazing.
an apple cider vinegar dressing.
Oh.
So good.
Oh.
And then I just made some jasmine rice to go with it.
All from Costco.
All from Costco.
Oh my God.
$40 meal.
Don't.
I will. Anyway, fucking COVID in restaurants. And there's remnants on the floor of the feet. The feet like stand here and then the next one be
yeah.
seat behind, like for the to-go orders. God, you guys, we all have collective like trauma
Oh yeah.
from living through this together. One night, they're asleep in bed. They hear stuff.
This was after the cocaine debacle.
Yes,
So it's just after the cocaine debacle.
yes.
Yeah.
They get up. They see their plants are broken. Their pots are broken. There's holes in the wall.
There's hose in the wall.
They hiding holes in the wall. And they realize that someone driven by and fired bullets into their home. They could have died. And according to the officers that were there, they could have died. Their bedroom's in the front of the house. The bullet holes are about a foot above their heads where they slept. There's an investigation that happens. They're questioned about if they've had road rage, what their political status was, etc. Michael speculates that it could have been because Julianne's fiending ass needed more cocaine.
More?
Yeah, any.
Any.
Because you were upset. But I don't think this would warrant this kind of response. I think she's right when she says that. Who does a drive-by for pulling out of a $200 drug deal?
Yeah.
Long story short, the investigation reveals that indeed this car who these people had done other drive-bys. So it might have been a gang thing. It might have been just random like kids doing terrible things. They stayed elsewhere because guess what? The shooters came back the next night.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know if I could go. This just seems insurmountable to get past.
Yeah.
How would you ever sleep again?
I don't think so.
I don't blame her when she says she sleeps on the floor. I get it. She's
Mm.
trying to get as low as she can to the
Yeah.
ground. So at this point, she's working. She's emotional.
She's too emotional.
She's too emotional about this.
We could die.
He's not working and just being a stubborn dick, basically. They're in this state of trauma together. They don't even realize it. They're coping however they can.
I think I'd want to move.
I don't think they know what they're doing.
Yeah.
He's sitting at home inside of his brain all day. She's working a ton, it sounds like. She's the one like financially supporting them. She gets a gun. She borrows a gun. Again, not the smartest move, but I understand it. A gun would not have stopped what happened to them. But in your brain, your trauma is escalating. Like, okay, if they're just randomly shooting in the house from their car, is the next step an escalation where they try to come inside the home? That's probably the thinking around it. And let's have a gun on the ready if we have to defend our
Yeah,
home.
maybe you feel safer.
It's insane.
Yeah.
And he wants to buy a gun. And what does she do? She complies. He's self-medicating. He's K-holing. He's feeling less than. He's unemployed. She's the financial support. Like everything that could be on him is on him. Let's give him a gun. Again, I'm not judging her. I'm not judging these decisions. I think they were inside something that they couldn't see their way out of, and they were just doing instinctually what made sense. Do you have feelings about that?
I think they should have moved.
Moved.
I'm not sure
Would
if
it-
Ben would have. Yeah, it's COVID. I don't think a gun would have helped at all. K is not going to help.
Mm-mm. But when these are your only tools available in their minds,
Yeah.
they're the obvious ones.
And
Drugs,
you're
guns.
just trying to make it.
She's so disappointed in herself. And that's why I'm not trying to pile on to Julianne. She is so disappointed in herself. She sees these patterns clearly. She has now find herself in another terrible situation where she's with a person and their values do not line up. It's turned physical, it's turned violent. She's exhausted, and she can't keep this going. The amount of stress that must have been in this household must have been just palpable.
I mean, it's a good thing she was working so much. It was the only way she could be outside of the house. And he's just in his head in that house going insane.
People say that you are who you really are when you're kind of under stress. Like people, like it's easy to be with someone when everything's happy and we're on vacation, right? But like when push comes to shove and like shit is hitting the fan, that is when your true self emerges, right? Like, because she talks about how she couldn't have predicted this change. So clearly things were going well before COVID hit, and then COVID is what sort of reduced him down to his most basic self in a lot of ways. Do you think that's who he always was and this was bound to happen and COVID just allowed it to come out? Or do you think he actually changed? Was he putting on, and again, I'm not indicting him because I think about this with my own self. Like when things are good, I'm fine, but when things get really tough, who am I and how do I show up and what am I like to be around and what am I like in relationships?
Like in times of stress, that's who we really are. Is that what you're saying?
I think so.
Are we all shitty?
I don't think that you're shitty.
Oh. I mean, he was disassociating though. I mean, he was in the K-hole. He's just like,
Well, and he had like this is the worst situation for him because he did have prior suicidal ideation or attempts, I think she said. He had done self-harm. He'd always felt on the outside. He always felt probably apart from his family, a real connection. He was really trying to forge his own path. I actually feel really sorry for him.
he has real mental issues. That
Yeah.
guy.
Yeah. So let's talk about the night. March 31st, 2021. She gets home. He's high. I would have lost it.
Oh, for sure.
I would have been at the end with this guy. Like, this is my trigger. If I could, like, identify a clear picture of a trigger for me, sorry to use the word trigger, but I'm doing absolutely everything and you're getting high. Like, I can't.
No.
Especially you're my partner, you're my roommate.
I mean, the word
I'm
partner.
supporting you. Yeah.
I mean, it's
She goes to sleep. She hears him laugh.
an odd laughter.
An odd laughter. Like the demon finally grabbed a hold of him.
Scary.
He gets the gun. She thinks it's for her. Her instinct is to run. He says, no, 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 you don't have to run. He says, I'm ready to fly. She gets the gun away from him. She forgets how to unload it. He gets the gun back from her. And he, quite frankly, puts the gun in his mouth and pulls the trigger. As I said earlier, there's a violence epidemic against women in the world today. Statistically, she shouldn't be here. Statistically, he should have killed her and then himself. That is usually what happens. The fact that he didn't kill her, it's a miracle. I mean, I don't want to overstate it, but I can't understate it. Like this is not the norm. She shouldn't be here. When we did the pre-interview and we were talking about that, I mean, her and I were both sobbing, like just to think about how that should not have ended up the way it did. She's so fucking lucky. This is really profound what she says. Like her friends really scooped her up and took care of her. I thought it was interesting that it's really the only time she actually gets emotional during the episode, which to me is a sign that she's moving in the right direction.
Yeah, I think so too.
She says something really profound in the section. She says, if someone wants to help you, let them.
I've heard that too.
Yeah. I know that we've talked about this before. You guys are reticent to take help from people, or you were.
And then we heard that piece of advice.
Yeah. And I feel like it flipped your thinking.
Yeah.
And now you're always begging me for some stupid shit.
I wasn't going to say that. I think I was going to say you offer your help less now.
Is I withholding?
No, because I started to say that I heard that advice. Now I'm going to take it more. And then you're like, noted. No, I think it's good.
To be honest, I'm surprised he didn't offer to pay for my moving expenses because she's got a built-in babysitter down the street now.
I should show you these texts. Actually, I was gonna text it to you, but
Gosh, between you and Gwen's, no,
it was Hilarious.
We can't use her too much at the beginning. She's going to catch on. Maybe we should let her have some peace before we start asking her to do stuff.
Oh, here. Oh, should I play me and you play Gwen?
Okay.
I'll play me and you play Gwen. Okay. Elly is down to babysit during parent-teacher conference tomorrow.
Heart that message. What a gift.
I know, right?
Her moving here might be one of the best things that happened to us in 2024. That's really nice.
Best things for us, worst things for her. And see.
Oh, God. And that's it. That's what helping looks like in a friendship.
I was like, I should text this to her. And I was like, oh, no, I'm not going to show this to her at all. But then I was like, I should.
I appreciate it.
No. But that's when she said the whole respite thing.
Yes. Yeah.
I said, ooh, that's genius. Then we can pay her. We're just saying, because you're doing this.
I'd rather hold favors over your head or get paid a fair wage.
Like for the guilt or so that we owe you favors.
I just like people owing me things.
Oh, gotcha.
Not true. I don't know why I said that.
Anyway.
If you need help, ask for it. And if we have talked about this before, it takes a lot of trust to ask and it takes a lot of trust to offer. I think that we fear asking because we don't want to burden someone. But as a person who gets asked a lot, I realize that it's not a burden. I'm honored to be asked and I'm honored to be trusted and I want to help because I can.
I'm glad you're honored.
I am honored so far. Now, mind you, I've only been living here 3 days.
And I've already asked you for 20 favors. And then I expanded those favors.
Let's talk about it again in a year.
I know.
This is the moment where she hears from the detective that she is lucky to be alive because these cases don't end this way. Again, her anxiety is gone. But this time, she's going to really do it right. She's going to get therapy, and that made all the difference. And the fact that she found a therapist that she matched with right away is, like, incredible. And she realized that she had to love her young self. She's walking around constantly with this feeling of, I'm not dead, I'm alive. And we know how prolific that is because, again, the statistics say she shouldn't be. Life is so much more precious. And I loved when she talks about how she went camping and she jumped in the water to feel alive. Everything is just so different for her now. And her final feeling on Michael is that he is so selfish to do that in front of her. The suicide isn't the selfish act. It's the doing it in front of her.
Mhm.
She didn't have a choice. And she takes his remains to the river, and I feel like that's a fitting end.
Yeah, I'm glad that she did that.
In her healing state, she attempts to understand others more. She feels like she has dealt with the PTSD of it all. She recognized she had to kill the cycle and the pattern. And she does acknowledge her responsibility in this. She made a lot of choices. And some might say they were bad, ignoring red flags. But she's also just growing and aging. And it's so sad that she's had to go through what she did. But she's loving herself now, like she needed when she was little. And truly, I do hope that her hollowness is filled now. It sounds like she just has created such a beautiful life around herself. There are some great pictures of her on the Actually Happening Instagram. I highly recommend go looking at those. You'll see her dogs and her. There's a couple pictures of Michael.
Is this weird that I want to know if she has a partner right now?
I don't know that.
Okay.
So,
That's good. That's fine.
yeah.
Yeah.
I don't know that she does. I know I did.
That's not what's important.
It's not.
It's not what's important.
I will say this. Her last photo shoot that she did was with her and her dogs. So if that's any indication.
That's great.
Yeah.
That's great. Good.
Good for her. Yeah, just get some dogs. Like, get a vibrator, get some dogs. Boom. Dusted.
I mean, really,
That's all you need.
right?
Yeah.
Friends.
And friends.
Friends you trust.
Friends who lift you up when you're down.
Yeah.
And maybe like a nice throw rug. Thank you for listening. This has been an episode of Trauma Bonded. You can find our show where podcasts are kept. Please rate and review us. Wait till you're in a good mood, though. Thanks to Julianne for sharing their story and giving us the opportunity to talk about it. And thanks to the This Is Actually Happening team, including Whit, Missildine, Andrew Waits, the maker of our music and website, Nathaniel Francesco Giamboli. And thanks to Cathy Sites for editing this episode, and Katie Cable for building those blasted Instagram posts. You can find us different places. Go to show notes if you want more info on that. We are trauma bonded to the story, to the storyteller, to the listeners, and to each other. Thanks for spending time with us today. Love you, T.
Love you, Elly. Good job. Hey, thank you.
Hey, thank you. Okay. Have a good day.
Thank you.
Trauma bonded.